Raj. I am your trainer for today from Fire Safety Management Institute. And today we have an introductory or review session on a new diploma called Diploma in Carbon Footprint Management in the Construction Industry. I would like to clarify this for all the participants that this diploma in carbon footprint management in the construction industry is supported by the Skill Development Council Canada, which is basically the accreditation body that is supporting this diploma in collaboration with the Fire Safety Management Institute. The learners that complete this diploma will be provided a certificate by the Skill Development Council Canada. So the diploma in carbon footprint management is basically about how to manage carbon footprint, and where we are specifically talking about the construction industry. We're expecting that most of the participants that we have today for today's training are affiliated with the construction industry in any capacity whatsoever. So for that purpose, I would really request all of you to one by one, please introduce yourself so that I would be able to be aware of the fact how many of you are from the construction industry and how many are not. First of all, who would like to volunteer for the introduction, please? You can raise your hands for this. Yes, please, Muhammad Khalid, sir.
I am Muhammad Khalid. I am working here in Qatar for the construction of new substations and power houses and this electrical infrastructure.
Okay, and where you working in Qatar for which company? Can you please repeat?
This Energo project consulting companies there working for this Qatar Electricity and Water Authority.
Perfect. Thank you so much, sir. Anybody else? Would another participant like to introduce themselves, please? Mr. Zahid Beg, would you? Okay, so the only participant that has introduced himself is very exactly related to the construction industry, and it will be very nice for him to learn about this diploma because he's very much affiliated. Okay, so let's start with the presentation. Let's start with an overview of this diploma. First of all, I would like to talk about what are the different features that this diploma has, what are the different objectives, what are the different goals that this diploma has, what are the different things that the developers of this diploma had in their mind while creating or developing this diploma, and what are the expectations that the developers have from the learners after they're done with the diploma. First of all, let's talk about the title of the diploma once again. So this diploma is called the Diploma in Carbon Footprint Management, and where? In the construction industry. So first of all, we say that the learners associated with this diploma must be able to understand, must be able to get some insight and understanding into what carbon emissions are, where are these carbon emissions coming from. They should also get a little bit of knowledge on how to assess, how to calculate, how to quantify, how to measure carbon emissions, and how to assess carbon emissions, how to manage carbon emissions, and ultimately, finally, understand and learn how to reduce carbon emissions. And we, again, are talking about the construction industry specifically. So we say that there are certain carbon emissions that are coming from the construction industry, from the construction activities, from the construction projects, from the construction developmental activities and other processes that we have. And since construction industry is a very massive industry and it has processes that are ongoing on a day-to-day basis, and there are, honestly, this is one of those industries that is never stopping. Even during the COVID era, when there was lockdown, every single industry stopped. The construction industry used to continue itself in some capacity. So we are saying that the learners should be able to learn about carbon emissions, to learn about carbon footprint, and then become capable of managing that carbon emissions in whatever capacity they are working in the in the construction industry. Why are we talking about carbon emissions? Why do we want to calculate and manage and reduce and mitigate these carbon emissions? Because we care for the environment. You and I care for the environment. I and you are environmentalists. We are people that are working towards sustainability, and we want to maintain activities in the construction industry that are carried out in such a manner that their impacts, that their harmful impacts on the environment are reduced as much as we can. We want to play our part. So for that aspect, we want to reduce the environmental aspects, the ecological impacts of our activities, so that we can become eco-friendly, so that we can go green, so that we can move and transform towards a more sustainable construction industry. Lastly, why do we want to achieve sustainability, and would it be impacting our money making impact? Would it be impacting our financing? How much impact going sustainable will have on the projects? Would our outputs be impacted? Would the success and efficiency of my project will be impacted? Absolutely not. It can be said that sustainability is that kind of a phenomena that wants to work in such a manner that the environment is protected. At the same time, the project outcomes are optimized and enhanced. The finances are enhanced. The revenue generation and profit maximization is maintained. This is what we want, because when we talk about sustainability, we say that we want to maintain environment, we want to maintain the society, we want to maintain the money, the finances, and we want to maintain the people part of the environment. So we said that the diploma in carbon footprint management in the construction industry will tell you what carbon footprint is. It will help you measure the carbon footprint of your construction company or your construction project. And it will also help you reduce the environmental impact of your construction company while optimizing your outcomes. Your outputs and efficiencies will not be decreased. When we talk about the learning objectives of this diploma, first of all, it talks about what carbon footprint is. It clarifies for the learners, even when they are almost laymen, even when you have the most basic knowledge about carbon footprint, on what this phenomena is. And number two, we talk about why are we talking about carbon footprint in association with the construction industry? What is the significance? And then we talk about how the carbon emission sources from the construction activities can be identified, they can be found, they can be marked, and as a result of that, they can be managed and mitigated so that the environment can be cared for. Number four, we want to see how different techniques, tools, and methodologies and different methods can be used to measure carbon footprint, to quantify it, to assess it, to analyze it, and all of that to reduce the carbon emissions. We also want to know how you, as a constructor, as an architect, maybe as an investor, as anybody related to the construction company, use different innovative technologies that we have as of 2024 that can be used to increase the ecological optimization, to increase the eco-friendliness of your construction company, and how those innovative technologies are the best in your favor. We also want to provide you an insight on how different skills can be achieved by any person associated with the construction industry. We also have a lot of standards, a lot of frameworks, a lot of certification schemes, a lot of regulations on part of different organizations, on part of different regulatory bodies, on parts of governments, on parts of countries and regions, and on parts of the entire globe that have been formed so that the carbon footprint optimization, carbon footprint management can be done, and how carbon emissions can be reduced in the favor of the environment. Lastly, we want to say that we also want to bring all the stakeholders related to the construction industry on board. We want to join hands. We want to engage everybody who's associated with construction so that the carbon footprint can be managed in the most wholesome manner. After we have done talking about the course overview and the course objectives, we want to say that this diploma basically have a very simple qualification structure. So what type of a framework or structure we have is that we have 8 units. Okay, all of these units are mandatory. All of these units are essential. You will have to learn all of these units. Out of these 8 units, 7 are units that you will have to learn, and 8th is the project that you will have to submit as a part of the assessment and verification process. How many credits do we have? We have 12 credits and a total of about 120 hours, which equals about 2 to 3 months. So anybody who's interested in knowing the span of this diploma, it can be said that this diploma will end in about 2 to 3 months. Just like I talked about the course content or the units, we have 8 units. The first 7 units are the ones you will have to learn in order to get an understanding into the concepts related to carbon footprint management in the construction industry. And 8th unit is the one that's known as the capstone project or the finalizing project, or which can also be said as a small mini thesis, small end year end term project that you will have to submit in order to get the certification from the Skill Development Council of Canada. How will this diploma be delivered? So this diploma is basically delivering through a part-time and distance and online learning over a span of 2 to 3 months in the form of online trainings, online classroom lectures that typically span for about 1 to 2 hours. And just like the one that you have today, since this is a review or introductory session, we will have explained and more elaborate
जी जी। तो बस सर यही है, बस
चले जी माशाल्लाह,
थोड़ा
बड़ी
धक्के खाते खाते बस आप पहुंच गए इधर। 15 साल गुजर गए।
चले माशाल्लाह, धक्के खा के कुछ बनता जाए।
सही है।
जितने भी कामयाब लोग हैं वो धक्के खा के कुछ पहुंचे कहीं।
चले अभी 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 कहते हैं ना कि इम्तिहान और भी हैं।
हाँ बिल्कुल, लगे रहे, अल्लाह खैर करेगा।
चले चले इंशाल्लाह। तो आप किधर होते हैं, जरा थोड़ा बताएं ना जरा।
मैं कतर में हूँ सर, कतर
अच्छा
दोहा
सर,
में।
कतर
ये
में आप? माशाल्लाह
जी जी,
माशाल्लाह।
ये जाहिद भाई है ना, जाहिद बेग साहब, इनके
जी
साथ ही
जी।
है मेरा भी।
अच्छा।
तो ये कतर इलेक्ट्रिसिटी है, गवर्नमेंट
हम्म।
की ये कंपनी है, तो उसमें हम कंसल्टेंट हैं। उसका जो
अच्छा
एचएससी डिपार्टमेंट है वहां पे कंसल्टेंट है।
अच्छा सर, माशाल्लाह सर, जबरदस्त।
Assalamu alaikum.
जी वालेकुम अस्सलाम.
Sorry, yeah, sorry for the inconvenience. Okay, so I'm back. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So we were talking about the duration and delivery of this diploma. So it is being supported by the independent awarding body, Skill Development Council of Canada, and spanning it is spanning over 2 to 3 months and would have online classroom lectures, was just like the one that we're having today. Okay. After that, we will have 7 modules, and 8 will be the final project or the capstone project that we will have. First of all, we will move on to the module number 1 that will have the introduction to the diploma or to carbon footprint. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So, talking about carbon footprint, I will start from the very basic thing, which is carbon. Now, what is carbon? Carbon is basically an element which combines with oxygen to form carbon dioxide, which is a gas. All of us are aware of that. But there's one thing that needs to be noted, that carbon dioxide is produced naturally as well as artificially. And similar to that, it can be said that at times carbon dioxide is a beneficial gas, and on the other side, it is also a harmful gas that can impact the environment in a wrong way. So when we talk about the beneficial aspect, we say that carbon dioxide is a gas that is released through the respiration process. Are you guys aware of the phenomena of photosynthesis?
Yes.
Yes, it's a very simple phenomena in which, of course, the plants provide oxygen to us, as a result of which we provide carbon dioxide to them. This is a very beautiful natural phenomena. So carbon dioxide is a very beneficial gas for the environment. But talking about the fossil fuels, when fossil fuels are burned as a result of when we are burning petrol, when we are burning gasoline, as a result of such activities, carbon dioxide gas is produced, which is harmful for the environment. Why is it harmful for the environment? Because it results in the greenhouse gas effect. Okay, now for this, I want somebody to tell me about the greenhouse gas effect. It's a very simple phenomena, but it's very important. It's related to the topic. The greenhouse gas effect. Anybody? Does anybody know about the phenomena greenhouse gas effect?
Greenhouse gases are the gases that are the harmful for the environment, like CO2, CH4, this N2O. These gases are produced through emission of the industry, and it is harmful for the environment.
Exactly. Beautifully explained. But there's one thing that needs to be noted here, that the greenhouse gas effect or the greenhouse gas phenomena is not just artificial, is not just harmful. It is also a phenomena that has always been happening since the earth has been created. This is a natural phenomena, which is essential, which is mandatory for the earth's atmosphere. I'll explain why. Okay, so this picture, you can see that the natural greenhouse effect is the one in which, for example, the fact that sun has been emitting radiations for us, those radiations reach the earth surface, are taken up by the surface for production of different activities, for the carbon cycle, for some essential activities are taken up by plants and so on. This is something essential for the atmosphere. However, as a result of this, some of the rays are also re-radiated back into the atmosphere towards the sun, towards the outer atmosphere of the earth. However, some of the rays remain with the earth's surface. This is how this very simple greenhouse gas effect is. But because of the human enhanced or anthropogenic activities or non-natural activities, for example, the burning of fossil fuels, we have problems that are causing the production of carbon dioxide and so many other gases such as methane and nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, and so on, due to which what's happening is, this is a very important point. What's happening is that the rays coming from the sun are coming to the surface just like they used to, just like they're supposed to, but very less amount of those radiations are re-radiated back. They are not allowed to go back. They remain inside the Earth's surface, remain inside the Earth environment. And what do you expect this to cause? Because of increased presence of sun's radiations, this is resulting in greater temperatures on the earth. This is resulting in the phenomena of global warming. What do we mean by global warming? We mean that the globe is warming, the temperatures are increasing, and we all know that the kind of temperatures that we have today are much more, are the highest in the history. For example, in Europe, this temperature level that we have had in 2024 summer has never been experienced before. Why is that so? Because the climate is changing. The greenhouse gas impact is causing changes to the globe, is causing changes to the environment of the earth, causing the phenomena of global warming. And why are the sun's rays not allowed to go back? Because the gases such as carbon dioxide primarily, they form kind of a bubble, they kind form of an envelope, a kind of a cover outside the earth's surface, due to which the rays are not allowed to escape, as a result of which they remain inside the environment. They keep heating the environment, they keep heating the waters, they keep heating the soil, they keep heating the surface, due to which global warming has occurred. We are experiencing extreme temperatures, extreme summers, extreme winter. We're experiencing glacial melting. We're experiencing the rise in sea level. We're experiencing extreme floods, flash floods, urban floods. We're experiencing unexpected rainfalls. All of this is happening. Why? Because of the phenomena of greenhouse gas effect, which is being triggered by what? Carbon dioxide. So we want to talk about carbon dioxide, or the carbon, and which is causing the carbon footprint, which is the basic culprit, which is the one that is causing problems related to the environment. Now, just like we talked about carbon, we talked about carbon dioxide, we talked about carbon emissions. And why is this known as carbon emissions? Why is the greenhouse gas effect mainly associated with carbon emissions? Again, because of this high percentage of carbon dioxide as compared to any other toxic gas, due to which this term has been coined as carbon footprint. Now, what is the term footprint? Would anybody, in simple terms, just very simple terms, layman terms, explain me what do we mean by a footprint? When we say this is a footprint, what do we mean by that? I want all of you to please participate. This needs to be two-way. There's no problem. You can explain in any language you want. Anybody, please come up, volunteer. Just simply tell me, अगर हम footprint कहते हैं किसी चीज का, what do we mean by that?
Carbon footprint, or just simple footprint, is just a trail that we leave behind while we're walking. So in terms of carbon, it would be the amount of carbon that we are using in our daily life. That would be the carbon footprint in simple terms.
Exactly. And when we say the trail or the footprints of one person, what do you think is notation we connect to it? What do you mean? I mean, कि हम क्या समझते हैं कि footprint से क्या मुराद है? हम क्या कहना चाह रहे हैं कि वो बंदा क्या कर रहा है? What are the
Yes,
activities?
Assalamu alaikum. Zahir Sabi.
Walaikum salam.
Basically, what we are using the footprint, it is context which will be help to convey the idea. For example, what are the activities which we have, and what are the mark which we are living in the world. For example, whether you are using resources consumption, waste productions, emissions, and measuring that data and understanding this footprint, we can work toward minimize our negative impact or marking more sustainable choices. So this is the it is a contents which will be helped to convey that activities or miring that we are considering the footprint.
Exactly. I think this is a brilliant explanation. Why? Because I exactly had the same explanation in mind. For example, I mean, I would want it to be really basic. For example, there's one person, he's moving towards the forest. his steps, his feet are leaving a certain footprint on the soil. Okay. If somebody wants to track, if somebody wants to see where that person is going, those footprints can be helpful. Through those footprints, through those marks, through those footprints, we can see and we can tell if that person is going towards the beach, or is that person going towards the swamp, is that person going towards the mountains, or that person is going towards the forest. And through that, similarly, we can say if that person is going in a good direction or in a bad direction. Would that direction be helpful for that purpose, for that person, or would that be harmful for that person? For example, if a person is moving towards a cliff, there are chances that the person, if he does not stop, he might fall off the cliff. Okay. And it can be said that similarly, a carbon footprint tells the direction, the kind of a context we have when it comes to our carbon emissions. I am somebody from a construction company. My carbon footprint will tell that the carbon emissions that I have are this much, are in this much tons. And if those tons are huge, this would mean that my activities are very, very considerably in the wrong direction and are causing a lot of bad impact on the environment. And I need to do something about it. Okay. I need to do something about it. Similarly, if a person's carbon footprint, if an individual's carbon footprint, if a company's carbon footprint, if a country's carbon footprint is less, this would mean that that company, that person is eco-friendly, is sustainably moving, and is moving in the right direction. So talking about the construction industry in that regard, we would say that when we are starting a project, when we are going through the project stages, when we are ending that project, we have a few stages of that. We have a few processes, we have a few activities that we will be having. For example, we will be using water. Definitely we will be using tons and tons of electricity. We would have a lot of usage of food, obviously, for the personnel. We would be using the transportation means. We would have a lot of machinery, we would have a lot of equipment, we will be using the phone and internet. As a result of all of these activities, when we will be done by the construction project, we will produce a lot of waste. And if that waste is not recycled, it will be simply disposed of in a landfill. And if it's recycled, we will have a recycling impact. So all of these activities combined together will form a carbon footprint of my construction company, my construction activity, my construction project. So the fact that that this diploma has been designed specifically for the construction industry is because the construction industry is a huge culprit. Because as compared to all other industries in the world, it can be seen that the construction industry alone is the biggest emitter of carbon dioxide. We can say that about 39% of the carbon dioxide emissions from all over the world are from the construction industry. Can you imagine that? When we compare our construction industry with transportation, when we can compare that with manufacturing industries, when we compare that with agriculture or any other company or any other industry, we see that the construction company is causing 39% of carbon dioxide emissions, which is something massive and needs to be dealt with. Talking about the carbon footprint of the construction industry, we say that, just from the very starting stage of the project, from when we are acquiring our products, when we are acquiring our raw materials, and then we are transporting those to our manufacturing units, and then we are using certain machinery for their, purposing, for working on those, and then we have a lot of processes going on for the construction. Then we are done with the building, we are done erecting the building, we are done erecting any project that we had. Then that project will have to be maintained, or that project will be used, that project will be repaired. And afterwards, when end of life will come, this project will that might also be demolished by the end of it. Then we will be producing a lot of waste that will be disposed of, which might also be recycled or reused or recovered and refurbished and so on. So all of these processes are ongoing on a day-to-day basis. We are starting from one stage and going to the very end stage. So the carbon footprint of the construction industry starts from the starting stage and goes till the very end of life, even after that, so and then the carbon emissions, the carbon dioxide emissions of the construction industry have been divided into two types: the embodied emissions and operational emissions. Okay. Well, I want somebody to please explain these for me if you have any idea. Otherwise, I will do that for you. Embodied and operational, what idea does it give to you looking at the picture that I have on screen? Just look at the picture for a few minutes and explain it to me if you can. Embodied and operational. Embodied and operational emissions. Just very simply, any idea. The idea might also be wrong. I don't mind. Just give me an idea of what do you think about what are embodied emissions and what are operational emissions.
Simply, we can say this embodied are the hidden. We cannot see what is happening, and this operational, we know this one. It is apparent to the nature or to the people or to us.
Nicely said. Very close. Anybody else?
Basically, that embodied that, for example, the total greenhouses gases emitted during the productions or transportations, construction process, building, excluding, etc. For example, we can say making the transporting building material from one place to another place, steel construction, etc. In operation, for example, that gases emitted during the use of phase of product buildings such as energy, heating, cooling, and appliances. That emissions, for example, uses the electricity or heat or coals at home, etc. So this is the two major difference in between of two ideas, whatever you are asking.
Exactly. You're right, actually. So, yes, just like you said, embodied are the ones that will be released while the processes or activities are going on. But once the project has been completed, inside that project, inside that building, inside that project, ever release of emissions because of certain activities and processes, because of energy usage, because of cooling, heating, because of water usage, because of whatever activities are going on inside, the emissions that will be released will be counted as the operational emissions. Okay. So again, the embodied emissions will be the carbon emissions that will be there before the building has been completed or after it has been demolished. But the operational emissions will be the one that will be the most intense because of the energy uses inside the building. And both of these can be combined together, called as the life cycle carbon emissions. And the picture here below explains the same fact. So talking about the carbon footprint of the construction industry, this fact of embodied and operational emissions is just to give you an idea that every single activity in the construction process is having separate carbon emissions. Some are having more, some are having less. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about is how different bodies, different parties overall inside the globe, in different regions, in different countries, are having a perspective on reduction of carbon. What are their plans? What are their motivations? Do they want to reduce their carbon emissions, their carbon footprint, or not? And if they have certain plans for the coming years, what are those plans? What are the percentages that they have? So it can be said that countries that are considered as developed countries, such as Finland and Japan, they need to reduce their carbon emissions more. So they need to reduce their carbon footprint by 60 to 80% by the year 2030. And they need to reduce this by 80 to 90% by the year 2050. All of these need to be decreased by year 2030 or by 2050. But talking about the developing countries such as Brazil and India, it can be said that they will have to reduce their carbon footprint, but because they are lesser developed countries, they can have a reduction of 40% or 20 to 80% by 2050. Okay, so what do you guys think? Why is this percentage more for the developed countries and less for the developing countries?
I think they are using the most advanced things like in term of energy consumption. For example, I take the example of the UE. So there is a more industries and the more consumption of the energies, and that may be the one reason.
Exactly. This is exactly what I wanted to hear. That bigger countries, developed countries, are more energy intensive. Okay, they are more energy intensive, as a result of which they are using more non-renewable resources of energy. They are using more fossil fuels and are releasing more carbon dioxide emissions. Therefore, they need to work a little harder as compared to smaller countries. Then, okay, first of all, I would like to give a little bit of recap of what we talked about. We talked about the introduction to carbon footprint in the construction industry and what plans and motivations and encouragements do we need to have. Moving on to the next step. Okay, first of all, we learn about what carbon dioxide emission is. For example, I am somebody from the construction industry. I have just come to know what carbon dioxide emissions are. The next thing is that I will be looking around myself and see how my project or my company is having carbon dioxide emissions. I just need to get up and check the sources that I have, the processes and activities I have that are causing more emissions, the ones that are having less emissions. Okay. So I need to measure and I need to calculate my carbon dioxide emissions. I need to get up and calculate my carbon footprint. I need to know how much impact I and my company or my project is having on the environment. So for this purpose, we have a lot of tools, we have a lot of methodologies. You know, a lot of you are here, and somebody might ask me, how to do it? How do we calculate our carbon dioxide emissions? How do we calculate our carbon footprint? So the way to do that is that you have a lot of tools, you have a lot of methodologies, you have a lot of assessment ways that can be used for that. For example, you have emission estimator tools. Okay, you have a lot of websites, such as the one that I've mentioned here. It's called the Build Carbon Neutral. This website is the one that will provide you a lot of information on how to do it, how to calculate, measure your carbon footprint. And then you have a lot of e-tools. You have life cycle assessments. You have carbon calculators for your specific construction type. For example, those constructors that are working in the stoneworks, there are separate carbon estimators for them. The ones that are working for road construction, the ones that are working for rail construction, the ones that are working in the maritime industry, in the marine sector, their tools are different. It is as simple as that. All you have to do is to have a heart and a mind for the environment, for calculating your carbon footprint, and you're good to go. You can choose any tool out of these. You can measure and calculate your carbon footprint and then move on further in this prospect. And then you will have to, after you're done calculating and measuring your carbon footprint, you will have to analyze it. And how do you analyze it? You have certain processes and methodologies to do so. For
Okay,
example,
there is
you
a
have
one question. There is a one question.
yes.
For example, they are using the projects and different machineries, different construction process and operations are in place. But the thing is how they can calculate the data and how they are collecting. I mean, like what is the correct way to collect the data, emissions sources, and then how they are gathering, how their analysis, how they are comparing with the benchmarking with the standard. What is the like way? What is the cycle? What is the process actually?
Okay, exactly. These websites, these tools, these are not like physical tools. These are
Correct.
online
I
tools.
understand. It's a just a
It-
simple
it-
tool
These
for
are
a calculation.
calculation tools, and based on the assumption. And the Zaid question is that how to collect. What will be the best tools to collect and measure the emissions?
Okay, so this is basically dependent on the kind of a construction type that you have. I'm not aware of which construction type you have. Are you working on a
Let's say
project? Are you
Okay.
working
we
as
can take an example of
exactly?
civil construction activity.
Okay, a civil construction activity, for example, will have as simple as this tool as emission estimator tool. The fact is that you don't have to go into the detail of it. First of all, you will determine the type that you have of the construction project, and then based on that, from these website and tools, you will determine the type that you have, and then move on to the tool that suits the best according to your own type, and then calculate your carbon footprint. Okay. Talking about the analysis tools, so you have different types of processes and methodologies for that. The process-based approach is simple. You have to talk about the processes that you have and how do you need to modify and transform your processes, and also talk about the input analysis, which says that maybe the very input, the very starting stage of your process has been wrong. So if you talk about the input stage, if you deal with that, if you solve that stage, the entire process of construction might change. And you can also use a hybrid approach. But other
What
than
approach? Can you please elaborate more?
yes, hybrid approach, as the name tells, is a combination of both of these. If you don't want to use the process-based approach, not only the input analysis, you can combine both of these. And I think this is the best because it will optimize your efficiency. It is a combination of both of these approaches. Okay, but one approach which is very famous and all of us must have heard about it is life cycle assessment. It is important because it talks about a cradle to grave approach. It's not just talks about the input, it not just talks about the process one, process two, process. It talks about the entire process. It starts from the production stage, moving to the construction type, then moving to when the building has been erected, and then to the end of life stage. So every single stage will be covered in this life cycle assessment to assess and see what has gone wrong, what is right, and how much do we need to do about this. All right. So first of all, we introduced what carbon footprint was. Number two, we talked about how to measure our carbon footprint. Number three, we see how to reduce our carbon footprint. Okay. So if you're even a simple worker, if you're even a simple personnel working for the construction company, you can say that if we use sustainable materials and sustainable designs, our overall efficiency can be improved. So for a sustainable design for the construction industry, we can have efficient energy usage, more usage of renewables, waste reduction. We can have improved indoor air quality by using certain processes. For example, we can have certain air purifiers, and then we can have sustainable building materials and sustainable design. So I will talk about sustainable building materials in detail afterwards.
It's a LEED certified building when we talk about sustainable building.
Yes. Okay. So there are different regulatory bodies. They are coming. Okay. They're coming just after a few slides. There are LEED certified bodies and other certified bodies, certified buildings also. Okay. It's not just one body. Okay, talking about the green buildings. So when we say that we have a sustainable designed buildings, that will be known as a green building. So what does a green building typically look like? A green building will have eco-friendly materials. It will have LED lighting instead of the incandescent bulbs. It will have obviously solar panels and wind turbines. It can have household water conservation methods. It can have water harvesting, water reuse, and also geothermal energy harnessing, which is basically the process in which a certain pipes are entered or bored inside the earth, due to which the houses are basically moved or ventilated in such a manner that it is cooled in summer. The house is cooled in summer and is warmed in winter because of geothermal energy usage. Okay, so when somebody asks how can a building can be made in such a manner that it has energy efficient construction techniques, what are energy efficient method inside a building? So you can have certain generators for electricity production that are energy efficient, such as the one that has been provided here by a company called PGen. There's so many tons of other industries available, but this one that I mentioned here is by PGen. You can have automated smart device systems, which means that while you are not using the appliances, they can be switched off immediately based on the usage. You can have passive cooling systems and then energy management system. What is an energy management system? This is basically that system through which you are automating the entire construction process with the help of computer machinery, with the help of computer, so that it can be seen that which project is more energy intensive and which is less, and there needs to be done something about it. And then very simply, you can use more renewables during the construction activity and keep maintaining and keep servicing your equipment so that any any wastage of energy resources can be minimized. So these are those energy efficient construction techniques, some of those energy efficient techniques that you can be using. Okay. Okay, while somebody is basically having a project, somebody is erecting a building, a project, how do we reduce the amount of waste that we produce? What we do is that, first of all, after all the waste has been produced, we keep segregating it. We keep segregating it based on the types that it has. For example, the plaster board can be separated. Anything that is non-recyclable will be separated. The wood will be separated. The stoneworks will be separated. Everything will be segregated at the source. And then, based on the segregation, there are two things that can be done. You can be recycling it at the source, at the construction site, or you will be sending it through a recycling company for recycling off-site. Okay, and then you can also have composting. Okay, anybody knows what composting is?
Is it related to dumping?
Okay, anybody else?
Yes, basically this is the concept of, like, it is a process to breaking down the organic waste material, for example, food, scrap, yard waste, etc., and biodegradable product. For example, your it's called for composting.
Exactly. So composting is the one in which we can be breaking down certain organic materials uh, in our backyard, maybe, as talking about from the household residential level, or breaking it down at the construction site so that on-site composting can be done, and then this can be sent for usage as fertilizers. And then by the very end, we can say that we can prevent landfilling as much as possible through all the first three processes. Okay, this is how we can reduce our recycling. We can reduce our waste production at the construction site, due to which the carbon emissions will be automatically decreased. Okay, so before we talk about sustainable construction projects, I'll have to take a break here because we have Maghrib time in Pakistan right now. So we'll take a break of about 10 to 15 minutes. All right?
Okay, sure, sure.
Thank you.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम जायद साहब, क्या हाल है? ठीक है, आप इधर ही हैं? खालिद साहब, हमारे इधर बहुत सीनियर पर्सन है, इधर अपना एनवायरमेंटल कंसल्टेंट जायद महमूद साहब इधर ही हैं, वो अपना एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करेंगे हमारे साथ।
जी जी बिल्कुल, अभी जो टेक्स्ट स्लाइड है सस्टेनेबल, ये उन्हीं से रिलेटेड है, तो इंशाल्लाह ताला जरूर रोशनी डालेंगे इसमें।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, हम उनसे सीखने के लिए तैयार बैठे हुए हैं इधर, बस उनकी इनपुट बहुत जरूरी है।
जाहिद साहब, ये जाहिद महमूद साहब, अभी आप कंटिन्यू रखें।
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm back from the namaz break. Okay, so we will continue from where we left. So after learning about the introduction to carbon footprint, on the measurement of carbon footprint, on different reduction strategies, we are now moving towards a few examples of how different buildings have been made in the world, different projects have been erected that are sustainable. We have a few examples that I will be sharing here. Okay, so first example that I've quoted here is of a building in China, which is basically a huge building known as International Bamboo and Ratan Center. So this building, what's unique and sustainable about this building is that this building has been developed um, using a lot of bamboo wood and rattan. Rattan is basically kind of a wood also, which is found in China mostly. And this wood has been added in the development and architecture of this building, making it highly sustainable because wood is a sustainable natural materials that needs to be promoted and that needs to become more famous and more common. The second building that I want to talk about is the Danish National Maritime Museum, which is present in Denmark. So this building is a special sustainable project because this was made out of an old ship body of a huge ship that was there, and they used that ship for making this museum. And also, this museum has been made out of sustainable sustainable stone materials that have been taken out from the earth naturally. So this building is there in Denmark. And after that, we have a building called The Edge, which is there in Amsterdam, Netherlands. So this building is special sustainably because this building has tons of solar panels, solar plates that have been installed on the roof of the building, and the entire building has been basically promoted as and has been called 90% sustainable, 90% green building because of the amount of solar panels that it has been using. And this glass that this building has is also very sustainable, and also because a lot of solar panels have also been installed inside the glass material. In addition to that, we have Neom, which is from Saudi and has to be my personal favorite. So do we have anybody from Neom? Because in the past, we used to have participants from Neom every single time. Do we have anybody from Neom project?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, glad to know that. Would you like to explain what your duties are and what do you do there? What do you work as at Neom?
I am working in NEOM as a environmental officer. We are building security camps for NEOM engineers and other workers.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for contributing. So NEOM has to be one of those sustainable construction projects that are hoping to be 100% sustainable, and has to be one of the most biggest benchmark when it comes to sustainable construction projects, and has to be really, really famous in Saudi and all over the world. Okay, after talking about a few examples of how construction projects can be made sustainable, how their carbon footprint can be minimized, how they can be made environmental friendly, we are now moving to module number 4. After all of that, module number 4 will talk about different materials and different technologies that are very sustainable, that are very innovative, and also very, very modern as per today's modern technologies that can be used while you are doing the construction project. Okay, talking about a few materials that can be used while the building is being built are, for example, number 1, we have materials that can be reclaimed from the environment. How can these materials be reclaimed from the environment? This means that these materials were once taken out of the environment and they were used, and now we are using those materials once again. We are sort of reusing and reclaiming those materials. For example, the timber, the wood can be reused once the wood has been taken out of a demolished body, out of a demolished building. Number 2, we can use certain bricks that have been taken out of a demolished building. They can be cleaned and they can also be reused once again. Talking about steel too, Steel that has been taken out from a demolished building can be refabricated and can be reused once again. Then we can have certain recycled materials, such as recycled plastic, such as recycled concrete that has been crushed, and recycled steel can be used. And recycled steel can also be used. Also, for your construction project, you should be using natural materials that are as natural as possible. For example, keep using stones that are natural, keep using bricks that are natural, use rammed earth. Rammed earth is basically kind of a finishing that you do on the walls of a building that is known as rammed earth and has been made out of sand, gravel, and silt. All of these are mixed together to form this finishing, which is known as rammed earth. Also, it could also be very environment friendly using local materials that have been taken from the site or from the place where the construction project is happening. For example, we just talked about the Bamboo and Ratan Center in China. Why is that building also environment friendly? Is because they used local materials, local bamboo and local rattan. Can you tell me why local materials can be environment friendly?
The carbon footprint for that material is very less. For example, this transportation is very less for
Exactly.
that material.
Yes, the amount of carbon emissions, carbon dioxide emissions that can be produced because of the long transportation journeys can be minimized because we're using local materials. We will have to travel, we will have to have the materials travel less. Perfect. Okay, so what sort of local materials can be used for the buildings? We can have bamboo, we can have straw, we can have wood that has been taken from the same region, the same place.
Even there are many factors. For example, as Mr. Khalid said, transportations emission. We can say that the supports of the local economy, less energy conservation, sustainability, and we can say like the cultural preservations, less packaging wastes, and lower environmental impact as well. So these are the factors also will be considered under the your point.
Exactly, you're right. Because talking about bamboo and rattan materials and talking about their cultural importance, we also have bamboo and rattan furniture that is extremely beautiful, so it also, yes, in a way, it preserves the cultural importance and of the area. Thank you for saying this. Next is how we can use certain environmentally safe products that are not harmful for the environment, such as the VOC free materials. So after talking about certain sustainable materials that can be used, that can be chosen by you as a contractor, as an architect, as an engineer, as a simple personnel, as an environmental manager, as an environmental personnel, for your construction project need to be sustainable. Now we can have a lot of innovative technologies. Why using innovative technologies is useful? Because it will help you save a lot of time and energy, and would also result in a lot of efficiency when it comes to the environmental factor, and also a lot of cost saving in most of the cases. So for example, when we talk about the artificial intelligence, which is the talk of the town nowadays, we can use a lot of internet of things based machinery. We can use AI based in machinery. We can use AI based forecasting systems that can tell us how much our process is likely to produce carbon dioxide emissions. We can use in the construction of our building fiberglass, which can be in the form of insulation fiberglass. We can use green roofing. We can simply, for anybody who's just not associated with the construction industries, can also be planting a lot of trees and plants on their roof, and they can also have certain green carpeting. In addition to that, we can have smart buildings that have smart systems We can have pollution prevention technologies such as the ones that decrease the air pollution and noise pollution also. For example, for noise pollution cancellation, and what do you think, is this important? Because for example, when we talk about huge construction projects, the amount of noise that is created most of the times is very disturbing for the surroundings, and that results in a lot of noise pollution. So how can this be cancelled? Do you have any example of any machinery, any process, any technique that can be used for cancelling the noise of a construction project? Okay, so I would like to provide an example. For example, when we have a building which is under construction and a lot of machinery is moving towards that, a lot of machinery is working on it most of the hours of the day, it will be definitely producing a lot of noise. So in order to cancel that noise, in order to reduce that noise, in order to produce less disturbance for the community out in the surroundings, we can use processes and technologies such as acoustic sheds. Okay, these are sorts of coverings that can be
Actually,
used.
before going move forward, can you please tell me that AI-based forecasting and buildings? What is any one example? The first one,
Yes,
AI-based
for
forecasting.
example, we have robotics. We have robotics that can be implanted and implemented in the construction building, that can be used to check, to monitor on certain processes, on the working of machinery. So robotics has to be the simplest example of this. Just take it really simply, robotics. All right. So, talking about pollution prevention technologies, we talked about noise cancellation. Then we talk about air pollution prevention, how the air pollution, the production of particulate matter related to the construction project can be decreased using different sort of dust mats, using chloride-based certain sprays, a lot of foam-based sprays, and so on, that can be reducing the dust or particulate matter that can result in a lot of health problems, respiratory issues for the community. And then the habitat needs to be conserved by using certain barriers between the construction project and the surroundings, so that the animals, so that the species living outside and in the surroundings of the construction project can be protected. You can have computer aided programs known as CAD or AutoCAD. You can have water conservation technology techniques incorporated in your construction project. This is extremely important. And then you can have building information modeling systems and prefabrication, which means that all the systems that you will be using, all the different fragments of the construction project that you will be using, will be developed and created off-site. They will not be created at the site of the building. For example, we have a building which is just in the middle of a community, which is just in the middle of a lot of other buildings and might be impacting the people in the surroundings. So what you can do is that you can be creating, or you can be developing the fragments or the parts of the building which can be developed off-site and then can be transported to the construction site afterwards. That will result in lesser air pollution, lesser noise pollution, and lesser impact on the habitat and on the community. Okay, so after we have talked about how different sustainable materials, different innovative technologies, different natural materials, different ecological materials, different recycled materials can be used in our construction projects, that we need to be mindful of how different materials can be used in a sustainable way for our construction projects. After that, we are now going to talk about how we need to be very much mindful of engaging and collaborating with our stakeholders. So when we talk about a construction project, what are the stakeholders? Starting with the client, the one who has requested the project. It could be the transportation companies. It could be the municipalities. It could be designers, the architects, the engineers, the designers, the workers that are working there, the contractors that have taken the contract of the company, the suppliers that are going to provide materials for the company, for the construction project, and then of course the community or the users of the project that will eventually be living inside that building or will be using that building. And then in addition to that, we also have some external stakeholders, such as a lot of innovators, a lot of people who want to invest in your project, a lot of interest groups and academics, a lot of researchers, policymakers, governmental bodies, regulatory bodies, and other standard bodies and certification schemes that want to be engaged with. We need to collaborate with them. We need to take something from them and give them something in return. We need to collaborate and communicate them our plans and motivations, and then also be working according to the standards that they provide for them. Also, it's very important, and I cannot emphasize this enough, that the communication of every single plan that you have when it comes to a project with the community is extremely important. The people, the simple people, the normal community members need to be brought on board, and I think this is one of those things that is done the least. Any project that has to be erected is erected because of money making reasons, because of financial reasons, and the people are not taken into confidence. They're not heard. They're kind of the problems that they think they would be experiencing after the project has been completed are never heard. But this is very a harmful approach. The community and the people need to be taken into confidence before the project is started.
Can I add later to the community? There
Yes,
is a
please.
now in these days there is a new term related to SRM, social risk management.
Okay.
So, and the community is under that they are caring about the environmental and the social risk management. Actually, these both are interlinked.
Okay.
If you're talking about the environmental, then the social risk management that we can cover also, like when there is a construction activity is going on, for example, in the one area, then we have to take care related to the social risks in the
Exactly.
community.
You're right.
Yes.
Yes. And I think this will be a very, very incomplete, a very wholesome, and a very sustainable approach, because we want
Yeah.
to take care of the environment, we want to take care of the finances, of the economy, and of the people. The people are extremely important. Thank you
And so
for saying.
social risk related
Yes,
issues. Yeah.
social risk management. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for adding to my knowledge. SRM. Okay, so then we say, how can we engaging those? How can we engaging those people? How can we communicating with them? How would we collaborating with them? So we can have certain trainings. We can have public hearings. We can have partnerships. We can have alliances. We can have workshops for bringing people on board. We can have awareness campaigns. We can communicate through different media sources. We can have the people and the workers, the personnel that are working for us, come together, talk to them about why caring for the environment is important, why do we have to care for carbon footprint measurement and mitigation, and how this would be important for them. Again, your point that engaging the workers and the community would come in the social risk management, so we will be hearing them out also. Okay, so the next point that is that after we are done constructing the building, we are looking at its carbon footprint, we are measuring the carbon footprint, we are assessing the carbon footprint, we are engaging our stakeholders, we are talking to people. All of this is going simultaneously, but by the very end of it will come the monitoring and reporting process. This means that we will monitor the success of how far we have gone. Have we gone in the right direction or not? Was our carbon footprint mitigation successful or not? So and then we will be reporting this to all the people, reporting this to the stakeholders, reporting this to the media, reporting this to the community. Once again, why is reporting so important? I need anyone's insight in this. Why do we need to report to the people after all? Why do we care? Because reporting means that we will be telling our standing, the level that we have, and the kind of success we have had in carbon footprint management to the people and the stakeholders, the community, all the governmental bodies and everybody, on how successful we have been, how much failure have had we to face. So reporting is important because when you specifically talk about your business, the reputation of your business, the kind of a standing that it has in the society will be increased. People will be able to understand that you have been able to deal with the bottlenecks, you have been able to deal with this problem, this huge problem related to the environment of carbon emissions, and then you have also been able to deal with them. Your construction project is a sustainable project, your construction project is a green one, is caring for not just the environment but also for the people. This will result in a greater, better reputation and more word of mouth of your building. Your community will be able to understand why your building is the one of its kind. So reporting is extremely important for that. Number two, it will also help you deal with the risks and also grab the opportunities that you have in order to maximize the output that you have. And also you will be becoming cost efficient because of understanding the bottlenecks and the problems, and then you will be checking them out, you will be dealing with them, you will be having a lot of cost maximization, and so you will be able to save a lot of money. And then obviously by doing this you will be able to see how much carbon have you been able to reduce, leading to better standing when it comes to carbon footprint management and mitigation and reduction. And then you will also be able to become better prepared, and more ready for the future. Your readiness for the future can be increased by this reporting process. Okay, do we have anybody add up to anything that we have talked about till now, or do you have any questions, any experience anybody would like to talk about a construction project which was a success or the one which was a failure? Okay. Okay, so I'm continuing with the module number 6. So I combined the module number 5 and 7 because they were of a similar nature. And now I will be moving to module number 6, which talks about regulatory compliance and industry standards. This means that whenever you're working in any industry, whether that be agriculture, whether that be manufacturing industry, whether that be architecture, whether that be construction, whether that be transportation industry, or any industry, textile, or any industry for that matter, you have certain standards that you are forced to, that you are expected to comply to. So there are certain regulations, there are certain legislations, there are certain laws and regulations and rules that you will have to follow. This is how everything works. So when we talk about the construction industry, in relation to the carbon footprinting, what different standards and regulations and policies and certifications do we have that are really famous? So somebody mentioned the LEED certification. Yes, we have LEED, we have BREEAM, we have ISO 14001. These three are some really famous certification schemes and certification bodies and standards that are being used by the construction industry for dealing with their carbon footprint and for carbon footprint reduction, so that the entire process can be made easier. So talking about different regulations and policies, we also have certain taxation systems and other tools, such as we have carbon taxation, we have cap and trade, fee baits, and emission standards. Now, what are carbon taxations? Carbon taxes are that different governments, especially the carbon taxes from the European Union, are very famous, that are used to put taxes on those areas, on those sectors, on those industries that are very likely to produce more emissions as compared to others. And as we know that the construction industry is producing about 39% of carbon dioxide emissions, the carbon taxes on the construction industry need to be really strict. Okay, so once there are taxes, you will have to pay those taxes. This is important because this will lead to people using less of such methods that can be producing emissions, because then they will have to reduce taxes. This is simple. And then they have cap and trade methods. This means that certain areas and certain sectors and parts will be there with a cap, or a certain stop, and a certain legislative stop will be put as to this is how much emissions you can only be producing. And after you go beyond that, you will have to do a trade. So you will be doing another trade with another industry, another part of the same industry. So you will be exchanging your emissions standards. And then moving on to emission standards, we have a lot of protocols such as fee baits. Fee baits are that, for example, talking about the electronic vehicles, electronic cars, the price is likely to be less in the coming years as compared to the petrol cars. This is why, because they want to encourage people to move towards more sustainable and eco-friendly vehicles. This is how different things that are not eco-friendly are priced more, and the ones that are more eco-friendly are priced less, so that people buy more of the environment-friendly products. Okay, so here, with all the participants that I have, I would ask, what do you think is the cost of sustainable construction materials? Do you think they will be less costly, or do you think they will be more costly? What an idea do you have?
Most costly.
More costly? Okay. Some other person? Okay, yes. So just like you, sir, Mr. Arshad said, that yes, the cost of sustainable construction materials and sustainable and innovative construction technologies and techniques and processes is a little more, maybe a lot more as compared to the non-sustainable materials that we are using as of today. The cost is expected to be about 2 to 7% more as compared to the non-sustainable materials. But I think this is not bad, because when you're caring for the environment, when you have to care for the planet, because we don't have a planet B, we don't have another choice. We have to do something for the future generations. We have to do something for the people around us. We have to do something for ourselves till the time we are alive, because we don't have another option of going to another planet after this planet has been exploited, after we're done finishing all the resources, after we're done deforesting all the trees on earth, after we're done polluting its atmosphere, after we're done polluting the soil, the waters, and after we're done with melting all the glaciers. I know this seems funny, but this is how we are going, the rate that we have at the moment. So after we're done exploiting this planet, we will be moving to another planet. No, we don't have that choice. We don't have a planet B. This planet Earth is our only choice. This planet is our only hope. So working a little sustainable with a little more cost wouldn't be a bad choice. What do you think? Okay. Talking about the last module, which, just like I said, was a capstone project. A capstone project is the end of term project or end of diploma project or a final project, which is basically project that you will have to submit after you are done completing this diploma after the 2 to 3 months. So this capstone project will basically be based on the fact that you will have to create a carbon footprint management plan. Okay, what do you have to do? You will have to create, you will have to make, you will have to devise a carbon footprint management plan. For what? For any construction project. So you will have to consider that you are doing a construction project, you are a part of a construction project, and you have to create a carbon footprint management plan for that. So the the stakeholders are asking you how your construction project will be reducing or managing its carbon footprint, and you have to explain that for them. And how does a capstone project work? So a capstone project, what do you think is the outline of this? How would you uh, take the headings of this project? Anybody? Would it work just like a research proposal, a research project, or what will be the headings, in your opinion? Okay, so let me explain it for you. Just like I said, this is expected to be a project. This is expected to be a capstone project, which will be of about 1,000 to 1,200 words. In this, you can have, an executive summary. You can have a background, you can have an abstract, completely up to you. You can have an introduction, and then the different parts of it are definitely up to you. But I can explain in a little bit of detail that you can have a plan on how the finances will be managed for carbon emission reductions, how the stakeholders will be involved, how the monitoring will be done, how the reduction will be done, what type of materials will you be using, how you will be engaging different stakeholders, how you will be collaborating with different stakeholders, and in the end you can have a conclusion. But please remember that when you will be submitting this project, anybody who submits it will have to have a proper citation and text citation, which is basically the referencing at the very end of the project. Most preferably, you need to have APA citation method, and you will have to have recommendations and conclusions and any suggestion that you have for the industry stakeholders. This will be compiling your carbon footprint management plan. This is how your capstone project will be. Any questions related to the capstone project?
No, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so when we talk about this diploma, there are a few things that I would like to add here, that the project is the only assessment. This project is the only assessment that you will have to submit. Okay, there are no other reports or exams you will have to go through. This is the only assessment you will have to present, which will be internally assessed by the Fire Safety Management Institute assessors. So you will have to secure more than 50% marks in order to be accredited as pass. Okay, and afterwards I would also talk about a few things, that if this training session that you have attended today was basically a free session. Okay, and if you want to acquire a certificate by the Skill Development Council of Canada, you will have to provide your details to the administration or management of the company, and you will be provided a certificate for which you will have to produce a specific fee, the details of which you can ask from the management, from the administration. And so this diploma has started last Monday. It is expected to span 2 to 3 months. It will have 8 modules. The last will be the capstone project. There will be different trainers that will be providing classroom lectures to you through distance and online learning. You will have also be provided certain exercises and certain small questions you might ask to perform certain activities related to the lesson, and you will have to produce those. It completely differs. So with this, we come to the end of the presentation on the diploma on carbon footprint management in the construction industry. I'm still waiting for anybody to come up with questions that you might have related to how the diploma would work and on. You're more than welcome.
Yes, Shwak bhai.
Yes, thank you very much. This is very informative session. And the question I have that this diploma is from which country, and the related to the affiliation, is this from any university or institute, or how it is acceptable worldwide? Actually, we are working, the Middle East, and sometimes they are asking for the equivalency or these things. So can we have these information, please?
Yes. Okay. So just like I said, and look at this slide also, that this diploma is basically by this accreditation body, by this body called Skill Development Council of Canada. Okay. It is basically a private independent body, a private independent awarding body, which is not affiliated with any university, which is not affiliated